We've heard this for weeks. The Warriors are in the driver's seat when it comes to the Lauri Markkanen trade. The Spurs are interested. Sacramento was, OKC was. And we're all waiting for that August 6th, 7th date for the Jazz in their extension period for Lauri to give us a clue, or we all think that that's the date where we're going to figure this out, right? And then we've also figured out that it's kind of become this Kuminga-Podziemski conversation where who knows if it's smoke and mirrors, right? But apparently the Jazz prefer Podziemski. We understand contracts value moving forward. I think the more interesting little bit of news that's come out in the last 48 hours or so is the Warriors could be the dark horse team to come in and swoop one Cam Johnson from the Brooklyn Nets. Now, Cam Johnson, if you're not familiar with him, is kind of a budget Lauri Markkanen. He's not a 7-footer, but he's a lanky power forward shooter. Came out of North Carolina. I believe he was James Jones's, one of his first draft picks for the Suns as the GM. And people didn't like it at all initially because I believe he was flagged perhaps for a back medically out of Carolina. And he was an old player. He was like 22 or 23. But James Jones, to his credit, saw the vision of a big, lanky shooter in today's game. And he was a really nice part of that final Suns team, right? Just a very solid role player with some versatility. And then obviously was part of the KD trade. And now he's in Brooklyn where they've extended him on a pretty fair deal. I think he's like at 23 mil per. But obviously the Nets, once again, are tearing things down and rebuilding. And so the vultures are circling this Brooklyn Nets roster. Listen, he's not Lauri Markkanen. To me, what he could be for the Warriors is something like Otto Porter, that type of role and caliber. He's not nearly as tough as Otto Porter. He doesn't have wilt spirit coursing through his veins, right? Especially on the glass. That's where Otto really, I think, surprised me that year. But he has proven to be far more durable than Otto, and he's every bit the shooter. Now, the thing that you have to understand with Cam Johnson is he's basically a standstill shooter. You're not going to run him off pin downs and handoffs where he's shooting in movement. He's going to spread out to the weak side and knock down those standstill threes. He can put one dribble down and relocate, but again, he's not a movement shooter. He's not going to create that type of gravity for you. But again, at 6'9"-ish with a pure release, a quick one, he doesn't have trouble getting it off. He needs a small window, and a lot of the times he can shoot it over a closeout. And so while he isn't a movement shooter, he still is very effective with his spacing on the floor. And then defensively, what I would say is, he's not a stopper. You don't want him on a team's premier bucket getter, but he's big enough and he's got a high enough IQ where I think he would stick to the team concepts defensively, move the ball. He would fit. But to me, I don't know if it would move the needle, especially when you look at the salaries coming in and coming out. It would be something like Kavan, GP2, and Moody, and they'd probably want to pick as well. I don't know. Maybe it would be heavily protected or something like that. But I don't know. I don't know about all that. However, if you could add Dorian Finney-Smith to the deal, now I'm interested. Now I'm intrigued. Because, giving up 2 or 3 players and some draft capital for a very solid role player in Cam Johnson, I don't know. But if you add 2, Dorian Finney-Smith, man, listen, he may be half as talented as Wiggins, but he plays twice as hard, right? And he's on a value contract, fits the timetable, a lot of playoff experience. And so if it would be Looney, GP2, and Wiggins out for those 2 and one of their young players as well to make the contracts work, I'd be interested in that one. And maybe I'm probably a little higher on Finney-Smith than others, but that would be intriguing. But as far as giving up a bunch of players in draft capital just for Cam Johnson, I don't think he's that caliber player. I know we're all still hoping for Lauri Markkanen at some sort of fair price. Fingers crossed for that, right? And again, August 6th, 7th, I think we're going to get a much clearer picture of that. But the Nets are a team to keep an eye on because they are seemingly rebuilding again. Cam Johnson, Finney-Smith. Would they move young Cam Thomas? Did they sign what's the big kid at the center position? Nick Claxton. Did they give him a deal? I think that, Brooklyn is a team that's ready to make deals if this Utah thing falls through. Let me know what you think. Do you like Cam Johnson? Do you like my idea of packaging Finney Smith? Or do you think Wiggins is better than those two and you wouldn't want to give that up? I don't know. Olympics start Friday. Men's team plays Sunday. There's going to be a ton of specials with Underdog Fantasy, including streaks, the road to greatness. Make a pick 2 entry. If that pick 2 entry hits, your streak begins, and you'll have to hit 9 additional pick 1 entries at your own pace. If you go 11 of 11, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. And so I got to get my footing with this new streak thing, but I'm excited because it sounds like once you hit initially, you can be very selective to keep that streak going. So look for my picks with that as these Olympics starts, as well as others. The link will be in the description. Underdog Fantasy, as always, you can use the code Alchemy to get a 50% bonus on your first deposit up to $250. But yeah, let's see. As we wait on these trades, I think we'll certainly be occupied with Team USA, all the stories around that, as well as the other events, man. I'm excited for these Olympics. Y'all enjoy the weekend. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.